I would like to see maybe we urge the governor to reevaluate the Abbott districts so maybe Ewing Township can get more fair share of its funding.
For the past 2 years, last year and this year, the Board of Education decided to go with a no tax increase in their budget, last year and this year. I would like to see an adjustment in that budget so that Ewing would become an excellent school district. I would like to see about a 2 to 2.5% increase in the budget. I'd like to have Board of Education review it so that we don't have the large class sizes that we have now in the Ewing schools. We have class sizes of about 27, 28, 29 in our elementary schools. That's too much. And those huge class sizes are mostly in the Antile school. So if there's just a slight increase in the budget, we can lower the class sizes. We could also hire a few additional teachers to lower the class sizes. And I think Ewing would be one of the most competitive school districts in Mercer County. That's how I feel improvements could be made.
The biggest change is probably more than one change, but I feel that the biggest change in the Ewing School District would be a greater involvement of the community. Sometimes the public schools are taken for granted, and the only thing that the taxpayer sees is the amount of the tax bill. And if more people became more involved in the school district, via programs, via athletics, via the academics, I think you would see great improvements because there would be a greater knowledge of what the public schools actually do in any community.
Implementing programs and services that would not only meet the educational needs of our children, but also meet the needs of the support systems in order to increase their involvement in the educational process. That's my number one priority. Mm-hmm. Number two, having a board that is globally minded, thinking of global implications of how education can better serve its community, such as economic development, increased job opportunities, not only for individuals living within the community, but also for our future human resources, our children coming out of the school system. And then thirdly, looking at the implications of real estate values being increased by a better educational system. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then third, possibly reducing or finding methods to reduce the number of students leaving our middle schools for leaving our elementary schools for middle schools. Find out what the methods are and rationale of why families and children are leaving, or not entering our middle schools, as we like to see more of.
Less development throughout the township, because when you develop and you build all these high-rises and these apartment complexes, what you're doing is putting more students in the classrooms that you already have that are overcrowded. And basically, the kids are learning a lot less because of it. I'd like to see more sports involvement, because I happen to think that the sports is an outlet for children to have less time to spend on the street and get into trouble. And if they're involved in sports, they tend not to get in trouble because they want to keep doing all their sports.
The single biggest change that we have to institute is a no cost, and that's greater parental involvement. We have to have sustained, consistent involvement in the students' academic performance as well as their activities, where each day the homework is checked, the kids come in ready to go to school. Every bit of research says when you have the parents, the teacher, and the students on the same page, and there's consistency, and they're all working towards the same academic goal of high achievement, it happens. So the biggest change I would like to see is to get more parents involved in the academic performance of their students on a daily basis. I think that would make the greatest difference right now in the Ewing schools.
Well, there's a couple of big changes that should be made. One is the state testing score should be brought up to par. In your paper, in this month's edition, on the front page, the high school and the middle school are low, unfortunately. So what we have to do is bring them up. And in order to bring them up, I think one of the things to do is make sure that everybody is doing their job. And have the parents, I'm not blaming teachers, but have the parents get involved, the kids get involved, and the teachers and the administration get involved. There's pamphlets from the state, that the handbook for the school for the students to learn from, and they could use that. The teachers can get papers to teach the kids the curriculum of the test. So that's how you can do that part of it. But another one is the class sizes. The class sizes are a little too big, and that would help on the test scores if you lower the class sizes a little bit. And by lowering it, you would help people that fall behind, not because they're not as smart as the next guy, but for some reason they fell behind. The teacher can't help everybody if there's a big class size. So if you lower the class size to a minimum of 25, you should be good to fix that problem. The other problem is the CEO officers. I don't know if you're familiar with the police officers in the school that help the kids learn and are there for the kids' safety. And
The SRO.
The SO, yeah, sorry about that. Thank you for the correction. The SO officers. Well, in Ewing, they did away with one officer this week because the Ewing Township budget can no longer afford to have the safety officer in the school. If you attended the board meeting this last Monday, you would have seen that the kids really learned something from this officer. And unfortunately, taxes are involved in this part of it.
I'd like to see us create a common vision for the schools. Today we have a lot of diversity of views. We have people from special interest groups coming to the board, seeking to have us kind of arbitrate what's best for the schools and make recommendations and take appropriate action. But I think it would be advisable for us to begin to syndicate the opinions and interests of various groups beforehand, before they become issues for a vote, and become more aware as a public of what the vision is that we have for our schools. I think it was well said at one point that without vision, people perish. And we look back at examples of people who had great vision. Martin Luther King comes to mind, John F. Kennedy, and I think most of you can relate to the fact that their visions changed history. I think we have the opportunity to make better schools in Ewing Township, and I think we can achieve that as we have more of a shared vision of what those better schools would be like. As an overall perspective, I think that we need to begin that process somewhere. So I have some views of what I think a model school might be like. You may differ in your view, you may have other ideas, but it's a place to begin. One thought is that I believe we should have a group of teachers that are passionate about learning, passionate about their subject, know it intimately, and can charismatically bring students to a great interest in what they have to say and learn. I believe we need an environment that's safe and wholesome, that will give kids a place to come where they don't need to worry about what's going on in the outside world, but they can focus on learning in that environment. I think we need a place where there are many courses of opportunities for people to learn diverse things, and there's a great potential for them to develop what their personal interests may be and grow into the people that they wish to become. Where we have great athletics, where we have community activities and clubs and things that make it socially a good place to be as well, where students will have a sense of community and feel part of something. And we also need a place where children with special needs, kids that may not always be treated to the best way possible at home, have a place that they can benefit and grow as well. So you may share a different vision, but I think it's an area where we all can come together and create a new future for us. I think that by starting there, working together, we can marshal resources that we need from the community, from other sources of funding and elsewhere to make it happen.